All right.
It's recording, right?
Should I go? Yeah. It's been recording the last
Let's go.
few minutes. Should
How do I get comfortable on this couch, bro?
I built this couch.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, okay.
You know, we're very creative out here.
Dude, of course.
Welcome to episode 2, Together the Podcast. You know what's crazy, Corn?
What's up?
I've recorded so many episodes,
Uh-huh.
at least 4, that I just never edited and put out.
Why?
Why? Gosh, jeez.
They want to know why.
They do. The people are asking.
Dude, he has 4 videos in the vault, guys. You need to record. You need to pull it out and just.
The people actually are asking. There's 2 people that are asking.
I'll be your third.
It's crazy. I'm gonna clip this so that I have my hands free.
There you go.
Why? Well, I think that's what I want to talk about. 2024, new year. I want to talk about consistency, how you get it, how you build it. What are you doing? What are the things that you want to commit to in 2024, and how are you going to get there?
Wow, lots of questions to think about. I'm kidding.
Well,
I love that, though.
Well, we were just talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
We've been talking about it we went and you came over, we were going to go, or start recording, and then my wife called me, because I'm married now. That's how long it's been. I'm married
Dude,
now.
that's crazy. When'd you get married again?
I got married September 14th.
Wow.
2023.
Dude.
Yeah. The first episode came out 3 months before that. So it's been 6 months.
Okay. Dude, you have holidays, you have all this stuff.
Oh, dude, there's no excuses.
That's true. No excuses.
There's no excuses
2024.
here. But, my wife called and she was like, can you get us Chick-fil-A? Get me Chick-fil-A specifically. And so I was like, all right. So we went and got Chick-fil-A. And we were talking about different things and why creating content and all the things we're learning. And I was just, what are some of the things you're learning about consistency and actually getting stuff done and actually executing on vision, dreams, hopes, things that are in your head and heart?
Dude, that's good, bro. It's hard. Consistency, I think, is a hard thing to just do. I think I don't know about you, but I know about me. I'm more of a visionary. I think you're the same way. You love to vision a lot of creative ideas. I think a lot of creatives are like that, honestly. We vision a lot of things. We have a lot of ideas, but when it comes to putting it down on pen and paper and actually doing it, we tend to either just have a fear of where do we start or how is it going to turn out? And then I know that to me, personally, the fear of okay, I want to do something and I need to be consistent of it, but when a fear of mine just hits and I don't know if this is going to be good to put out, then my consistency just dies. So or it doesn't even start, So
you'll give up on an idea or hope or a dream because of the fear of what?
The fear of just I guess you can say the fear of approval, right?
Or rejection.
Or rejection, yeah. The approval of what people will think. I think it's more so what people will think about my creative ideas or my creative things I want to put out.
Yeah, yeah.
I have the fear of that. I used to. Well, I still am a little bit, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I get that. I'm the same way. But at the same time, I think I love the approval that I get when I learn, because I've gotten fairly decent at communicating things, verbally. And so you at work, I'm trash on Teams. I literally, my supervisor pulled me aside and said, Joe, you need to respond on Teams.
No way.
Right. But in person, I'm great. Right. So I've gotten decent at communicating in person. And so what I've found is that I will communicate an idea enough times to the point where I feel like I had the satisfaction of actually doing it. But I never do it.
Why?
Because it's way more work to do it.
Yeah.
Versus just talking about it.
That's true.
Because talk is cheap. But when you actually need to do something, it takes a lot more effort, and you have to actually wrestle through yourself. Yeah. Which is really interesting. So.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel that though.
But so what you found is you've actually developed a few systems or mental approaches to just the things that you want to do that have actually set you free to be more consistent.
For sure.
What are some of those?
Yeah, what did I say? I remember just talking about how sometimes for me, I have to learn more about myself, right? In the sense of what I've just my character, in a sense of what for me, when things are either if if I have a fear of something, I shut down. Meaning that like, hey, like I have an idea. Let's go ahead and do. This is just hypothetically saying like, let's just do a post every day, right?
Yeah.
And my fear is like, oh, like the stuff that I'm going to put out isn't going to be quality. And so then what ends up happening is like, instead of me actually trying to figure it out, I'm like, I'm just going to reserve. I'm just going to watch YouTube videos and not even do anything and just like learn, but I'm not actually putting any actions to it. So I'm just like feeding my mind a lot more than I'm actually doing it.
Yeah.
So then I just like shut down. I'm like, I don't know if it's even worth doing it anymore. Because then after that, I'll just like put it to the side, and I'm like, oh, it's time to go to the gym. Oh, it's time to go hang out with some friends. Now it's time to just relax.
Yeah.
And it's just more like, wait a minute, Corn, like you had a goal, you had a vision, you know,
But you didn't do it.
but I didn't do it. Why? Because the fear of that kind of put me back, where I'm just like, like I don't want to learn, right? So for me, it's like,
or I don't want to wrestle through actually doing it.
Wrestle through actions.
You can learn it.
Right.
Like learn how to do. Like I know how to do a lot of things. Right, but have I actually done a lot of things is a very different conversation.
Right. And I think we're just like, I say we as in me, but like I think for me, like I tend to internalize a lot of things, right? So like I tend to like picture a lot of things like, oh, if it's not gonna be this way, then like why do it in the first place?
Yeah.
But it's more so like now that I'm learning to act upon doing things, it's like even if you don't do it right, you did it and just learn from it, you know? So for me, it's like, even if I post something now, because I'm doing like, I'm posting once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm posting once a week.
But it's like a quality sort of
kind of, effort. Yeah. It's quality effort.
Post.
Yeah, it's more so me kind of putting more like, and I was telling you this earlier, but like I'm learning to plan a lot of things ahead, right? Because that's not who I am, but that's who I'm trying to be, you know?
Yeah.
Who I'm becoming, I guess, right? So I'm trying to just be better at planning things, so that way it gives me more of a freedom to understand. My mind doesn't feel overwhelmed, right? So I'm like planning certain things, and when I look back to it, I'm like, okay, I got this down, I got that down. Now let's execute it, right? Instead of me thinking like, oh, like if I have it in my mind and not planning or writing it down, then it just over internalized in my mind. I'm just not gonna do it because it's too much, you know.
Too much weight in the brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. I mean, this is just like application wise that I've learned. It's like, I think it's really important what you have in your mind or your heart to write it down, or just to like plan it, or just to have it like so you can see it.
Yeah.
So even if you don't do it then or there, you still have it as a proof to maybe
actually learn to like write down and organize your ideas and your thoughts.
That's what I've learned, and that's what has helped me recently. So
yeah.
What about you, bro? Like, have you kind of figured that out yet? As far as like
how to be consistent,
or just like I mean, like any way to find a way to execute that, or in your way, I guess.
I think a big part of it is like, I think I've been asking myself like a lot more lately. Shout out to a great book I read, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Book has changed it sold millions of copies and was actually read by probably millions of people. That's how like books are sold? People don't really read these books.
Yeah.
Right? This one is like a book that's read.
Oh, wow.
Right? And like whole organizations have structured their leadership off of, and like development and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But one of them, the second kind of principle or habit, is start with the end in mind. And it talks about kind of playing out 5 years, 10 years, end of the day, who do you really want to be, and what's the actual goal, right? And then the next habit after that is put first things first, right? So if you know who you want to be, then you literally need to do what you should do first, what's important, and not just what's urgent or showing up or whatever feels most comfortable. And so I've been spending a lot more time thinking about who I actually want to be. And one of those people is just broad, whatever it is that I'm choosing to do, that I'm choosing to do it regularly.
Okay.
Right? And that it doesn't need to be something that is like developed to the perfect place that I ultimately want it to be off the bat, but that it's just started. And so like, for example, what I want to do right now with the podcast is like, my goal is to do it once a month. And so what I did was I did what you're talking about too, is I created a plan where first week is one part, and I broke it down into 4 weeks. Right. And so literally, like, yes, you could put out a podcast once a week, but I've decided I'm going to put out one once a month and build it out in a way that I'll actually execute on it, and decide that no matter what, I'm actually deciding to do this.
Dude.
I'm not just talking about it and saying, in theory, we could do it, but it's actually no. Like I know how to do it. I know when I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do this.
Yeah.
And this is how it's going to happen. And so, I don't know.
That's awesome.
We'll see if this sees the light of day.
The game plan. If anything, hey, I mean, that's accountability between both you and I. I mean, I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. So, like, you know, like, I know for sure you probably expect, if you are on social media, like, seeing Corn's thing every week. And for me, it's like once a month, I'm like, oh, Joe's got someone new. Like,
end of the month.
Yes.
End of the month.
Yes, sir. Because that's awesome.
That's the thing, is I don't want to do a podcast just me. I don't know. I feel I'm not there yet.
For sure.
I'm not there yet.
No, I get you.
Maybe someday. But the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, which is really interesting, because this podcast really revolves around two things. It's asking two simple questions. What are you learning, and what are you trying to, like, what are you trying to figure out? It's kind of those two questions. Hey, I'm learning this, and I'm trying to figure out this, and I'm learning this in the process type of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but with the new year, the question that I've been asking a lot of people, has been, hey, what character goal do you have? Because I feel like there's actually 3 categories of goals. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
There's the numeric goal, right? Maybe I want to pay off the student loan. Maybe I want to lose this weight, right? And personally, I think that's the lowest level goal there is, right?
Yeah.
So there's the character goal. Then there's the, I think, next level of goal, which is a habit goal, right? Which is like, hey, I want to develop the consistency of doing blank, of executing on blank, right? Which I probably would say is the next better goal. In theory. And the third one, I think, is actually a character goal, is who do you want to become? Because the person you want to become has the habits to execute on things. So at the end of the day, if you had to pick one, you would want a character goal.
For sure.
Because it will actually lead to all the other goals getting accomplished.
For sure.
So what are your character goals for 2024?
My character goals? It's tricky you ask that, because I'm trying to figure out between the habits and the character, because I don't know.
They go together.
They go together. I mean, they all do for sure. But as far as like being a character, right? I think for me, like in my understanding of like what you're trying to say is like, I want to be a person that is authentic, right? A person that is that you can come to me and be comfortable with. Because one of the things I'm trying to do is also be real, in a sense of like
not the app.
Not the app. Not be real. But be real, and sometimes you can over just like I don't know what the word is, but basically like you can say I want to be. It's simple, like real is simple, but in a sense, like for me, because I've struggled with being somewhat real or authentic, is just like understanding that like I'm not perfect, right? So for me, I'm trying to be a human that has values, that has morals, that is also respected. So like the way that I can respect others. But that's what I'm trying to be in 2024, is a character of like someone who's authentic, someone who is, someone that, isn't afraid, I guess you could say, but in comparison to like the habitual stuff is more so like I want to make sure that like I'm able to communicate with people, if that makes sense. Because I think when it comes to being authentic and real, there is an aspect of having relationships with people as well, like with mentors, with family, with friends, with whoever it may be, right? I don't want to be one person with my friends and I am with my, as far as like, with my family, I don't want it to be different as far as like my friends I am with my mentor, I mean, there are some certain things I don't share as much, but, as far as my character, like I want to make sure that I'm real all over, aspects of my relationships with people.
Yeah, the same person wherever you go.
Exactly, right. We talked about this, like even with social media, like I'm trying to do social media once a week. I don't want to be a person online that's going to be different than in person, right? So that's why I'm trying to be authentic that way. Like the content I'm trying to put out on social media is solely like what I've learned and who I am, right? Things like that. So hopefully that answers your question as far as characteristics.
Yeah.
Like
it sounds, if I could try to put it in different language, I think what I heard was like, it sounds like you're trying to be somebody of high integrity.
Yes.
So you're the same everywhere you go and in every relationship. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, high integrity. There you go.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the word. I was like, what's the word?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No, being the same everywhere. I love that.
Yeah.
I think, so what, if you're someone of integrity, what kind of habits does a person of integrity have?
Yeah. First and foremost for me is humility. I think for me, it's like for example,
Well, I feel like it's a characteristic.
is it? You think so?
I guess.
I guess
what?
more like action. You mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Okay.
but that's an interesting thought too. What
Yeah.
characteristics does somebody of integrity have? Humility.
Yeah.
I'd probably say.
Well, the reason why I jumped to humility is because one of the problems that I've like experienced of not being authentic or having integrity is not being able to be to communicate or speak, in a sense of like with like about my internal problems, right? So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah,
you know,
know what you're like. You have a hard time with telling people the whole truth
yes, exactly, the
in
whole
each
truth,
scenario, like each interaction or each person or each people group. So to
right?
speak.
Exactly, and also just like from my insecurities, right? I had an insecurity of the approval of what people want, and and this is something that I've learned recently because like I'm an only child living in an Asian household. Lots of pressure from mom and dad.
Indonesian gang.
Yeah, Indonesian gang. There you go. But anyways, like that pressure of like my parents wanting everything to be perfect, and for me growing up, and it's not their fault because that's all they knew. But for me to understand, like they wanted me to become a like like a successful like great boy or human being growing up.
Yeah.
That that like they put a lot of pressure on me that when I grew up, like it was hard for me to communicate, to be like, hey, I can't do this, or I can't, like things that I struggle with. I never really talked to them about it. Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of grew on to like me talking to, or me having mentors, me having friends, me having, relationships. It's like, I never really knew if it was okay for me to say that or talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. And it was hard because when you don't talk to people about that or the people you trust, then you bubble it in and it kind of destroys internally. In my experience, it destroys internally of me not being authentic.
Yeah.
I'm putting a mask on, telling people I'm okay when I'm not okay.
Now you don't know who you are.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
You're falling apart, but you don't know how to express it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Some of the expression of me trying to like express my feelings, it was hard.
Yeah, yeah.
But and that's like the goal I'm trying to be is like being able to express it, but also be able to have integrity, right?
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
certain things like that, of just being able to.
So
Yeah.
sounds like character, goals, integrity. The characteristics that you're building that feed into that is humility.
Yeah.
Like that's the practical. But then the habits are to be kind of genuine with everybody.
Yeah.
Very specifically, like telling people how you actually feel and stuff.
And also just genuine with myself,
Yeah.
right? Because like, for example, right, and this is like a thought process I just had between us. I didn't have the word that I wanted to say, which is integrity, like you said. In my mind, that would have I would have been ashamed. I would have been like, dang, like I didn't know that. Come on, Corn, you should have known that, But for me, like the humility of that is like, Corn, you're just human. Like like sometimes,
you don't need to know
you don't need to
everything,
know everything. Like Joe got you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and like that's something I've learned too with people. It's like, and that's something I've learned even with like my business. It's like things I don't know, just keep doing it until you understand it, right?
Yeah.
And this is like the whole thing of going back to like planning it. You do it until you learn, not just like having it in your mind all the time and just like, and like shoving it to the side. It's more so like put it down, jot it down, try it out. You got it, awesome. You don't got it, awesome. Keep doing it till you get it right. You know what I'm saying? Because I think every day is always a learning like opportunity every day. You know what I'm saying?
Thing.
And that's what I'm learning too. Like in any opportunity I'm given, whether it's speaking, whether it's leading, whether it's teaching, whatever it may be, like I might not know enough knowledge yet, but if I put myself out there and I, have the reputation to learn the characteristics or the habits of doing it, of certain things, I think for me, like, and I'm actually looking for feedback from people.
Yeah.
Rather than
opposed to you're just trying to look not to get
exactly
like, almost noticed.
Yeah.
In a negative sense.
Yeah, because that's something that I've struggled with too, right? I think I didn't grow up with a lot of feedback in my life. I mean, if there was feedback, it was never feedback that was like positive.
It was like you're in trouble.
Yes, it was like you're in trouble. It's like, oh, oh, did you get straight A's this week, this semester? I'm like, no, I didn't say that, but I was like, yeah, I lied about it because that's what they want to hear, But it was never, and I didn't know how to approach that when I was younger. So of course it like, of course, like over time when you don't know how to build a habit of being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Then it's like you inherit like a different trait, right? And so right now I'm just trying to make sure I can figure out what's
kinda
right.
go back and rewrite.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's kind of what I had a hard time with, especially like being like emotionally transparent.
Yeah.
That was something that I had to learn, and I'm still learning. And like my wife will tell you that, like learning how to like tell how I'm actually feeling. And I think some different things I went through, because I always felt like I had to not cause a problem.
I'm sure.
Right. Which is just interesting. I was when you were talking, I was thinking about, you're talking about taking stewarding opportunities.
Yes.
Right. Something else that I think a lot about is like stewarding ideas. Because like I don't necessarily like, I believe that ideas are gifts.
Yeah.
And not every idea is an idea that the best way to steward some ideas is to not do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right. But some ideas, like if you never do anything with it, why do you expect to have another great idea? I also sometimes think like, I wonder why people hold so tightly onto ideas and don't share them with other people sometimes. Because I'm like, okay, maybe the idea wasn't for you. Maybe it was for somebody else. Right. But I don't know, just what comes to your mind when you hear the idea of like stewarding ideas?
Stewarding ideas. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, I mean, you split those words together, steward, and define it by itself, and then everyone knows what ideas are, but stewarding is like the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's like, that's like, for me, it's more so of the consistent aspect, but consistent in a way of like feeding it, right? So like, to put into words, it's like you're feeding the idea by doing it over and over again, right? Because the first thing that comes to mind when you say like stewarding ideas to me is, for me growing up, I've learned how to like play music, creative, boom, 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 sports, whatever. And here I am today, not in the NFL. Like here I'm today, not playing, not being an artist on stage, right?
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I was like, is it because I didn't steward it well growing up, of these ideas that I like, these talents, I guess, or skills that I've had, or is it because
it wasn't supposed to happen?
It wasn't supposed to happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then for me, it's like, when there's a skill or talent that's been given, like for example, like the creative mind, or athletic, whatever abilities of doing this and this and that, I don't want to push it aside, right? What can I do to make it better for myself, right? And that's why I think about, like, for example, like, yeah, I'm not in the NFL or playing any professional sports, but I'm working out. Like, it's something that I love to do. And I think that's the part of me stewarding just me. And also like with creative too, like I didn't know I was going to make my own business doing creative stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it's just there,
Prodigal Studios. Wait, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, Prodigal Studios.
But then there's that pressure of like, when I was younger, like my parents wanted me to become like a doctor. So of course I went to school to be,
Asian household.
Yeah, you go to school to do like public health and boom, 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 right? Yeah. But going back to like the stewarding aspect is like understanding, like, yes, again, like you have like, for example, stewarding ideas, like you have the ideas that you may have written down or have in your head, and if you don't steward it, meaning that if you don't bring it back to life or you don't pull it back out to actually work on it, then it'll just die away, or it just won't happen. Like for example, if I was to steward my way of playing football, probably would have gone to college, probably play semi-pro if I really, if I really put it in there, right? And the only reason I say semi-pro is because of my height. And then the same thing with like music, right? If I were to actually steward it well and
I think about the difference between stewarding opportunities and even gifting and talent versus stewarding an idea.
Okay.
Because I feel like an idea is very like, it can feel abstract, and it can feel like when you're in the process of creating something and you have an idea that floods into your mind, what do you do with it? Right?
Oh, okay.
Do you give it attention, or do you say, no, not right now? Right? Because I think there's some people that have a hard time taking ideas and giving them space, right? And there's some people that only give their ideas space and they never stick with anything, right? Because they always have more ideas. And I tend to fall into the latter category, where I've got so many ideas that it's like overwhelming. And then there's a whole group of people that have like 2 ideas in their life, and they like I've only ever had 1 idea, right? And where I'm like, dude, my brain won't shut down, right?
Yeah.
And so like, what do you do?
Oh dang.
Like that's kind of more of what I'm like. What do you do when I have an idea for a podcast? I've got ideas for clothing lines. I've got ideas for apps. I've got ideas for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Right. But I know I don't have the bandwidth to do it. So how do you navigate, and what do you do with ideas that?
Dang.
How do you decide which ones to not do, and how do you have peace about not doing that? Because if ideas are gifts, and you're choosing to lay one down to not pursue it, then you're laying down a gift.
Right.
Right.
That's great. No, I'm glad that you actually kind of cleared it up for me. But when you said that, the first thing that popped up in my mind was, before Prodigal Studios, I did a clothing line. Prodigal, just clothing, right? Yeah. And that's still in the back. That's still an idea that I have. Yeah, I just pushed it aside because of the stuff that I have now. As far as like creative and the business and stuff like that. Honestly, to answer your question, I still am trying to figure that out. As far as like trying to steward the idea, because my goal is like, as an entrepreneur, like I want to make sure that I can have all these different assets, right? Having, the service of helping, businesses and companies grow their social media and market their digital work, right? But also an idea for me as well is like, I also want to build my clothing line back up again, I just don't have the bandwidth, like you said, you know? Yeah. So for me, like, I think for me, like for me to steward something like that is by, and this is just me thinking out loud, is just to give myself a little bit of like me time, or like this is like, when I say me time, in a sense of like, I need to balance out what I have in my life, meaning that like I have my personal goals versus like my business goals or ideas, you know what I'm saying? Like
time to plan your life.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, again, I don't know how to answer that because I'm still trying to figure as far as like,
I don't necessarily have like an answer. I think one of the thoughts that comes to my mind is, what idea is going to do the most good? Yeah. Right. Or what problems are causing people the most pain that this could help solve. Right. And then another one of the things I think is like, what idea is the center point of a lot of other ideas? Okay. So for example, I was trying to decide between doing the podcast, trying to do more social media content, trying to become a life coach, trying to, I know, right? Super random. Yeah. And like, I think one or two other things, trying to do, brand, like clothing too, because I like that idea. Yeah. But the podcast one, because I figured if you have a podcast and say there's a reoccurring theme, you could do a clothing line based off of that, right? And part of it was, if I wanted to do social media, I could grab content from the podcast as social media content. Podcast one, because maybe the podcast gives exposure if somebody did want help life coaching, right? The podcast one because of like all these other reasons. And so it became like, oh, this idea touches all the other ones, where this one only touches one or two. Gotcha. Right? Or touches more ideas than other things. Yeah. So it was just and I also think it's kind of tough to know when an idea is just, it's a good idea, but it's not for now. For sure. Yeah. Right. Which is I think I fall into that trap of like, I can do them all. Right. Right. Like, okay, clearly you can't do them all. And right?
I think, again, like I said, like going back to the steward of like opportunities, like even in the timing of you learning something at that time doesn't mean it's going to happen at that time, but it may happen years after. Right?
You may learn it and then use it later.
Yeah, and that's what we've learned, right?
I'm still wondering when I'm going to use my computer science degree.
Right, exactly.
Right, but maybe you're right.
Dude, right? It is. Now that you said that, bro, I think something came up to me because I'm reading the Art of Creativity by Rick Rubin.
Is it good?
Yeah, dude. It's like just a whole abstract of like what creativity is all about, and like everything that you think, do, say, whatever is all creative in a way, right?
Because you're creating.
You're creating, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember, I think it was either in the book or maybe it was like a podcast that I watched, but it was they talked about, or I think whatever they said, or if I read it, but basically it's in the way I kind of like translated it in my sense is for the steward, I guess for creativity in general is the what's the word? It's like the impact on like who you are, if that makes sense. It's like for example, like okay, here you go. You talked about like the ideas that you have in your life, and you want to do a clothing line, you want to do a life coach, you want to do this and that, right? You of itself is your personal brand, right? Mm. So for somebody or for anybody to be influenced or impacted, you need to have your own, like you need to have a solidify of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where, correct me if I'm wrong, but in like social media now, sometimes people put out things that people want to see versus who they really are. Yeah. Right. I mean, and I think, going back to like juggling the ideas of what we want to do, I think it's great. Like you said, doing something first, like the podcast is an idea that you had that you're like, I'm going to do this first, but who knows? Because if people are following you for who you are, then you can add a clothing line. You can add your life coaching. You can add this. You can add that because
all the other things.
Because they're not looking for your assets of what you do, but they're looking for who you are. Because okay, I think it was a podcast that I listened to because the person said that I love this influencer because of who they are, to a point where I screenshotted their social media and zoomed into the background to see what their blender was. And it's because they just mess with they really just admire the person for how, like, maybe how authentic they are, maybe how personable they are, right?
That's crazy.
Right? And so I thought about that and I was like, again, like, I know it's going off track of the ideas and all that, but as far as like having the ideas of like certain things, I think it's great to just like have an idea and like do it, but you can always come back to it. You just got to make sure you're solidified on doing one thing or doing something for expressing yourself or like branding yourself out there somehow. So like doing this podcast, like I could see, you being consistent with the podcast for so long, whatever, that let's say that like you impact 5 people.
That's what in the car. That's what we're talking about.
You impact 5 people.
Which is crazy because the second podcast. So I guess this is episode 2, but this is the third one that I hope we'll see the light of day.
For sure.
The second one got like 50 plus people.
There you go.
Who watched it.
Yeah, bro.
My goal is 5.
But again, like I said, right?
Saying that.
But like, and that's also like, and I think what we as people, like, we want to see consistency. And when we see consistency, hopefully that inspires people to be consistent. Yeah. Right. And so like, and that's what I'm learning too. It's like, I'm learning that if I want to be consistent, and if I'm feeding off people who are doing things on social media or doing things off, going to the gym every day or doing whatever, great, because I see they're consistent. They may not be consistent, but let's say they are consistent because I'm seeing that I need to be inspired and be disciplined to be consistent as well. Right. And so there's ideas that I want to do that I need to stay consistent in. For example, like doing social media once a week, the content creation once a week, for you being consistent to this, because then once you're consistent with this idea, jump to the next idea and see if you're consistent with that one. Right. So,
which I think that's kind of my habit goal for the year is that I want to plan more. Okay. Maybe not necessarily every day, but like have a plan for the month, for the week, for the year, for whatever, right? The character goal is that, and this is part of planning, is I want to be a man of my word. Because I talk a lot, and I'm great at talking, right? And I'm very quick to say, oh yeah, we'll do it. We can figure it out for sure, right? But I'm terrible at following through, right? Like, this is why I stopped doing content for other people, because I'm so bad at turning things in. I'm like, I just want to be somebody who will do what they say they're going to do.
For sure.
And so that's something that, because like I guess it really is, it's kind of integrity, but it's a little bit more of like just matching my actions with what I'm saying a little bit more.
For sure.
Which is integrity, it's wholeness. But yeah, I don't know, that's interesting. I'm trying to wrestle with where I need to put my life and what's worth doing, right? And wrestling with this hope and understanding that, cause it's such a funny thing to believe that you can make a difference. Yeah. Because it's true. But at the same time, it's like, but I'm just a guy. Yeah. But it's true.
No, it's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, that's kind of something that I get caught up in sometimes. Yeah. But anyways.
Dude, yeah, bro.
What's something you're excited for 2024? Maybe we can end on this.
Excited for 2024. I mean, for me, it's just like a lot of growth creatively. I think if I'm really doing the content creation once a week. And again, it's not me trying to seek approval of like me doing the content and me like just, you know, me kind of not seeking anything about it. It's just more so I'm seeking the principles behind the scenes of creating it.
Yeah.
So like I really want to see like the first video posted was a week ago. So I'm trying to see by like December, the last week of December, and see how far I've come.
Yeah, yeah.
And to see like what skills I've learned, what things, how.
It's 52 videos, man.
52, yeah, exactly. 52 weeks, 52 videos. So
a lot of videos.
Trying to see like the quality of it, trying to see if it's planned.
Is it a video? You said just a post.
So I didn't specify if it's going to be a video. I think it's going to be a post. So it could be photos, it could be videos.
Is it going to be like a carousel, like a slide?
It's going to be more of a carousel, yeah. It would be more of a carousel. So
if it wasn't a video.
Yeah, if it wasn't a video, yeah. So doing something like that, I'm still trying to, you know, put like a brand on it. But I just want to see in the next like few weeks to months, like what like just the. You know, it's like, have you seen like those photos of like when someone loses weight or if they like grow, like they age?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the little time lapse or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be like more so of me like seeing a time lapse of my continual growth. Yeah. So
it's exciting, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it because I'm just like, there's editing, there's like the planning, there's like the look of it, the color of it, everything. So I want to see like, just like the quality. If it's the same, then cool. Like maybe there's something behind it that I'm doing different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if it looks the same, but like the storytelling is different, then cool.
Yeah.
You know, if it's something, but I know for sure, like I've learned so much within a year. Like I would be surprised to see what it would change or it would be different.
Yeah.
So
you never know.
So yeah. So definitely follow me out.
Yeah, follow Corn. What is it? What's your Instagram?
It's just at Corn Waiman. Simple.
Corn. So CORN.
Yeah, it'll be right here. Okay.
I'm not editing. Waiman, WAIN.
So corn, just like the vegetable, and then WAIMAN.
MAN. Mm-hmm. That's close. Anyways, and Prodigal Studios if you need any more.
Prodigal Studios.
Hey, I'm excited to see what happens with this.
Dude,
you got some friends out. It's gonna be a good time. But thanks for coming on, Corn.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, bro.
Dude,
take it easy.
You. Too, bro.
Love you guys. Episode 2. You know, let's just see what happens.
Sponsored by Liquid Death. Can you imagine, bro? Just had this every day.